Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Is this thing on? Let's double check it. So, hopefully, everything goes smooth. We are dealing with a new phone now. I got a lot of stuff to talk about. You see some reels you haven't seen in a while on the show. I've got stuff from Rogers I picked up, stuff going out the door, stuff coming in. So, I picked up a new phone because I had to. And I'm just going to show you guys my old phone real quick. For the last year or however long, I don't know how long. Can you guys hear me? See me? Is this new phone working? I've had this old turd, Celero G5 5G. So anyway, this phone, I don't know if you guys can see. Let me take it out and show you what happened. And I'm probably going to go burn it. I may save it and have Charles bring his gun and we'll blow it up. But this phone, a while back, battery started swelling. And I've been, believe it or not, using it for 3, 5, several months to where people were like, it's going to blow up. And if it wouldn't been for the fact that I've dealt, and the only thing kind of holding it together was the fact that in this little flimsy case thing, dealing with RC car batteries over the years, uh, the lipo, the lipoly, whatever batteries, like I've had them swell and you can run them for like a whole nother year in an RC car. So anyway, the phone, Solero G5, has had a few issues, but the phone is actually good. The battery is what's failing on that one, so I went and picked up a new one, and we've got a Motorola. I don't even know what this is called. Some kind of new Motorola, right? It's not a Razor. So we finally made it down to the lake, and we picked up. You guys have heard me talking about it. The Black Knight 2 and then the original Black Knight. I had honestly forgot I even had that reel down here. I had it on this rod and I forgot what I'd done with this rod. I'm like, what did I do with my luckiest rod in the world? I know. Some of you guys don't believe in luck. I don't even know if I do or not. But I'll put it to you this way. If you're going to send me out and I have to catch a fish, life or death scenario, not just even talk about what baits to use, if you had to send me with a rod, for luck wise, this and the Teton 6.6, and it's funny because this is almost equals to the same length and almost the same action as the Teton. It's the one I made. If you guys remember, are familiar with the old, been with the channel for a long time. I picked that up off eBay real cheap. Didn't the handle was okay, but it's an old Gold Max, very good blank material, and that's almost like what the Teton. I think the material is kind of made out of. But this rod was originally 6'8". And I'll just show you for those of you that don't remember. You can still find, they're still out there. And you can look on eBay. You can find awesome BFS capable type fishing rods that have been made for a while now. This is years old. I don't even know how old, but real old. So there's a spec, 6'8", light action. It was called back then light action. So very BFS capable. I don't know if you can make out all that. This new phone, it's like it needs to turn the lighting up even more than what's in here. But 6 to 12 pound line, 0 to 10 grams. Is that right? But anyway, very. If you guys had the Teton, I call this even maybe almost softer. It's very close. So anyway, that rod not going anywhere. It and the Teton are like some of the luckiest rods you could ever use. But then this rod, if you guys remember right, back when I first got in that crazy, this is one of the first rods that showed up when I ordered that crazy amount of the cheap, very cheap, affordable BFS stuff coming from AliExpress, the rods. And this is the one that they call the Golden Mud Carp. Still a very functional, working, like I call it, if you guys remember right, this is one that I call it kind of in between. It's not quite ultralight, but it's definitely not light either. It's rated as an ultralight, but I'd call it definitely stiffens up quicker. It's kind of like the AOX CU double with the ultralight tip, but with the tip a little stiffer than that CU double tip. But it's a very good, like, all around, and I think they're only like 15 bucks still if you can find them. So I'm not sure what's going on. I think Charles is almost bound determined that he wants this one. I think Charles already has the. I think he has one of these, don't you, Charles? That's the original, and I'll show you guys here. For those of you that are new to BFS, new to this channel, if I get this thing open, that thing was already off. So this is one of the ones. This is the very first reel. If you guys remember the whole fiasco with the braking and all that. So this is the still has the dynamic brakes. This is the very first one I got. I actually took these magnets and heated them and did like crazy stuff trying to get them to work better. And then we realized you could take the 0.5 millimeter and just add them, but this one has already been done to where they're like sticking out further than they were. And it works. It's probably not the best way to do it, but it was the first way we did it and worked just fine. So it's still the dynamic magnetic, like, so it's one of the OG ones. It's dusty right now. Sitting down in the camper at the lake, ready for battle. So if you have, and they still sell them and it can be confusing, so it's real simple. If you're looking for a BFS reel and the newest technology, you're going to want to look for the Black Knight 2. The Black Knight will come like this, heavier spool, bigger, heavier reel, like it's just a whole different reel. It's not like they refined it, they completely changed. They call it the same. And then the Dark Wolf Ultra and the Dark Wolf, same two reels. The Dark Wolf and the Black Knight are the same reel, just in sheep's clothing, right, kind of deal. They look a little different. Same reel, come from the same manufacturer. In fact, that sounded weird. And then the Black Knight 2 and the Dark Wolf Ultra are the same, a little bit of different cosmetic things. They all have drag clickers. This has, I believe this is when they first, I think. Yeah, so it's got, but this is nowhere near as capable of a reel. So even though if you can come across the older ones, they didn't have an issue really. Of course, we never tried. I never tried with these to add magnets, see if it did anything different. Because these weren't bad. They weren't capable to go real low. The spool is heavier. But no issues right out of the box with these. They come with a clicker. They just palm a little bigger, and they are a bigger, heavier spool. Like a whole different, I think that is a 34 or 32 millimeters, and these are like 30 or whatever they are. So anyway, they look similar, but once you get them out and in person and the weight, they're a totally different reel. Anyway, just thought I'd get that out there. Those are back to be gone because I don't really. If Charles doesn't want the one, Olivia's already kind of claimed it, but I told her Charles wanted it because I could put both of these. This one on the feeling, or no, the other one, Black Knight 2, on the feeling. This one on the one she's got now, the, I can't think of the name of it, the Joker, and then put it on something else. See, hang on, everybody's jumping in there. Central Cali chicken fried steak, and then SQ Hunter. What site did you get them from? Oh, if you're very new to the channel and BFS stuff, AliExpress. For the poor man, the cheap man, looking for fishing gear, AliExpress. It's all coming from China. You're basically cutting out that middle guy that's charging, in some cases, double the price for stuff. You can find stuff that is very good stuff from the Chinese market. Basically, they ship right here to the United States. AliExpress is kind of like what your Ratukin, or there's several other ones that are similar, of where they're shipping stuff from overseas, kind of direct buy stuff. Not too far from what Amazon is here. What's up, Jay? So anyway, yeah, go, if you haven't watched Bass and Bonsai videos, there's a ton of them on talking all the different stuff from AliExpress and most of these, when I first brought them out and talked about them, I shared the link in those videos, but I can't go and share all the links to all that stuff because I don't get paid one extra dime. I don't get paid anyway for pushing any of this stuff on the manufacturers. Not sponsored by anybody, including Z-Man, who they would sponsor me and allow me to help them what I feel changed some of the stuff in their baits, I would probably be the only company I would maybe think about letting sponsor me. Not Strike King, right? But I bought several Strike King baits today. Anyway, I want to talk about the Z-Man. Again, I had the issue with this is an awesome bait. Caught a bunch of fish, but they wrapped that wire so weird that it started falling off. I had to push it up, so I'm going to go do my little wrap thing like I did on the other Mini Max. This is the 1/4 ounce one. If you guys remember right, the 3/8 one I fixed it. I bought another 3/8 and I bought another 1/4. I know they're expensive, $7.99. These baits just flat out, that color with that rage tail, flat out just catch fish. That is, if I had to pick a bait of the year so far that just flat out catches them, whether they're biting, they're not biting, you throw it right in amongst bigger, brighter, louder baits, it'll still get hit when the bite's on. It'll be one of the only baits still getting hit when it's Dingsville or it bites tough. The little Mini Max in that bluegill color. The Big Blade does kind of get hit, but now we're in and I want to talk about that too. We're kind of in the feeding. It happened already, but in case you guys don't know and you haven't been fishing in a few weeks, around here anyway, in the Midwest, they are on little fish. Like you'll see little dinks really pushing in the shallowest of water, and they're after all the fry, everything that's spawned. They've had the bass, the bluegill, the shad, every fish basically that's in water has laid little eggs, had little babies, and there's all these little things flowing around. So all of our bigger baits, definitely not the time to be testing swim baits. Honestly, you can still catch them. I'm not saying you can't, but this is really not the time to be on a bigger type bait trying them. You can, every once in a while you may get on a bite, but you kind of want to downsize, probably even smaller than a little 1.0. So what I found, as you'll see, it took me about 3 trips to figure it out. Yeah, dude, you need to go check out BFS. They do for spinning, but we don't do any spinning on this channel. But you can literally take the BFS reel like this right here, for little lightweight stuff. Like these will throw down to 1/16 of an ounce, literally that much weight, not counting just the jig head with a soft plastic. But so you can virtually find the right rod and put one of these BFS reels. You can use it for drop shot, for Ned rigs, for everything to do with bass. You honestly, if you don't like spinning gear, you can do away with it. Like I did it like 10 plus years ago. But as everybody's catching on now, it's in the muscle memory. If you're a bait casting guy, some guys are just spinning guys, some guys are bait casting guys. Some guys, I've witnessed several people that once they just kind of grew up, their parents or whoever got them a spinning setup, and that's what they learned on, and that's just what they use. They got heavy action spinning rods, that kind of stuff. Well, now we can do the same thing with bait casting gear, going down the opposite way to the lighter stuff with BFS. So check all that out. So anyway, hello, Olivia. Swimming, are we? Where was I at? I got sidetracked. Oh, it took me a while to figure out the little bite. You can ask Olivia, who just commented. She was with me for 2 of the trips. Well, it's the same trip, 2 different spots. I went out to the Odessa Reservoir. If you just watched the video that dropped today, go watch it. It's not really a lot to watch. You witnessed me catch like 4 fish in the first 15 to 20 minutes I was there. It took a lot to catch the last little dink. I caught him on a little 1.0, not this one, but the first ones were all caught on. Actually, this may be the exact bait because I think I had to pinch it off. That right there. And it seems so easy and so simple that, okay, well, if that's my like backup, right? I started on the dam, the wind was blowing on the dam, tried a few, moving baits, didn't get hit, went ahead and tried this, bam, caught 3 within a very short time period and thought, okay, well, I'll use that. If I start moving down the bank, I see some commotion or something on the depth finder, they'll hit this, right? Because if you catch 3 within like a 15-minute window, like surely that bait's going to work for the rest of the day. caught one little dink, throwing a little bitty square bill up like real dirt, like way shallow towards the grassy stuff, and then nothing. For 2 hours I fished, trying everything almost in my arsenal, and then this included this, and also not only just that, but like trying different stuff, rigging it different ways, different colors, going with zinkers, going with I don't think I threw a Ned rig. Is the only thing I think I wouldn't let myself resort to that, because I had like a 3 hour little window, and I'm like, I am not going to start Ned rigging this place. But I like really like threw all kinds of everything, from moving to big to loud to little to not another hit. So if I had to go back and look, you know, hindsight being 2020, I should have just kept going back and forth right off. It was kind of in the middle of the dam. I should have just kept going there, maybe moved out a little bit from there, and just spent my couple hours I had to fish that day just living on that spot right there on the dam, in all honesty. And I don't know what is up. And I'll talk about this real quick. I would suggest very highly, especially if you have a boat that moves faster than mine, the dam, the grass seemed kind of not that lively there either, but there was some like, if you watch the video, you'll see that there was like a gunky stuff on top of the actual grass that's submerged in the water, and that stuff didn't look dead. It looked kind of green a little bit, but the actual grass, when I would hook and pull some up, it'd have a little couple inch growth on it that was green, but like the grass in the Odessa Reservoir is like, in the beginning of June, that was probably a week, almost 2 weeks ago. So almost beginning of June, like it should have been at the most the liveliest. I don't know what's going on, why it was like that. Maybe it started to grow, or it just didn't have enough clear water compared to last year to let it bloom back up. So that's just all the dead stuff from last year when it was clear. I don't know, but it's a nightmare. So anyway, then we proceeded to go to a honey hole, and I was going to put together a topwater video, right? Another Chapo Whopper Plopper. Now, this place, you guys know the place well. I've talked about it before. Like, it really needs to be a little wind, a little chop on the water before that place kicks in. I fished. That video is going to drop tomorrow. I fished for probably an hour without any topwater hits. I rigged Olivia up with a little bitty. Where's it at? I got one somewhere. I don't think I have the exact one she was using. Well, this is a size bigger, but like a little 2.5 inch, one of those Meredith baits, and she caught a crappie and then a bass within like a 5 to 10 minute little window. I was like, okay. It was on a little chatterbait head, little micro. Wait, here it is. Here is one. I had a couple rigged up. This one got rusty. So you guys have seen this before. This is a little finessey, just sometimes when nothing seems to be biting. That little, that's the micro, not the mini. The mini, I think this is a micro. I get them confused. I think this is this micro. But it just produces fish. But so then I switched to like other chatterbaits. So we got on a little bite, but that was kind of a failure video, and so I put it out just to show you guys. It's like a 10-minute video. We caught some fish, but then we loaded up and we went to another place that is crazy low. So I'm going to edit that video just to be able to put all the footage in of the low spots. And that's one thing, that's where the point I'm going with this story right now is, I would suggest you guys do the same thing. If you show up on a body of water and it's way lower, I've talked about it once in a video last year. Actually, the spot we were at that is up now, and they're not that far away from each other. I don't know what's going on. I think the dam maybe messed up the other place. But either take pictures, because your memory is probably not like mine. It may be better, but my memory is not as good as it used to be. But I'm going to make this video just so I can have a scan of the place where we were, as low as it is now, and I'll be able to see all that structure. Now, so if, like, say, the next year, whenever I'm going back, and wherever the water level is, if it's, completely full, I could just brush through a video like, oh, remember that video, like the shallow water failure, I think I'm going to probably call this video. And I'll be able to just kind of reacquaint myself with that area and where they're, because there's a couple things, and you'll see in the video I talk about, I'm like, I never even knew that was there. Like my little depth finder that I have is pretty good, but it won't show you wagon wheels, and there's like a spot where it looked like some old, back in the Amish, maybe had a, got drunk and ran their cart off into the thing or something. But anyway, it's a good idea to be paying attention when you are fishing spots you're going to fish in the future. It's spots you hit on a fairly regular basis. When the water's low, be paying attention to how the bank is made up, and because when you go back and it's full, you just have that in the back of your head. Helps you to see the, envision it. Okay, hang on, let me read them. SQ Hunter says he loves bait casters. Chicken fried steak always makes me hungry every time I say his name. Red baby brush hog been hitting local to me. Red? What do you mean red? I don't even know they made a red one. I don't know. I don't know what all colors they make in the baby brush hog. This color has been on fire around here. Oh, and I got a story to tell you. The reason you're going to see some swim baits pop up, and the reason you're going to see this size swim bait pop up particularly, I'm going to tell you, I almost took some pics of it. I did, and I just went, though. You guys ever go on a scouting mission, and it's like you're in a covert operation, right? Covert. I show up at a place, and they're working on this guy's boat, right? And it's one of those boats where you can tell that guy's probably a serious fisherman. The boat's not real pretty. It's kind of old, but it's got like all the stuff it needs. You can tell the screen's not there, but it's got this big mount. So he's got a pretty good depth finder or something on his boat. He's just probably he's all about business. Well, I'd seen this boat before. Well, this time I noticed when I was in my truck that there were still baits sitting on that boat. So I went and just peeked in at what he had. They were just kind of like, he's got this thing, and you guys comment if they actually make this or he made it. There's like this foam thing that he had. It's stuck on his carpet that he had a few things stuck on, but then he just had baits laying around that. And so I don't know if that's a thing, like they sell something that you put, or maybe just you guys are cutting a chunk of foam out. I guess I could do that with one of my those yoga block things. But anyway, had this deal there and some baits around it. So the usual suspects were there, so I knew he probably knew what he was doing, because he had some of this kind of stuff. He had now he had like a smaller peanut butter and jelly jig. He had a peanut butter and jelly little, like even finessier than this, with a peanut butter and jelly TRD on it. And he had a few other, baits that seemed pretty legit. Like he had a round ball head with, I think he also had it was a green round ball head, no skirt, but it also had a peanut butter and jelly TRD on it. But the thing that caught my eye, I'm like, well, what is this one? Because I'd never, until I saw that bait, seen one in person. He had, and it took me to go to Tackle Warehouse and just start scrolling through their swim baits to see which one it was. Back in 2017, Lunker Hunt came out with the Fetch swim bait. I don't know if you guys have seen them, used them, or whatever, but it's just, it kind of reminds me, and I bought some, the Spark Shads, but it's a very I like the way the plastic felt good. It's nice and soft, but it didn't feel like it would tear real easy. I don't know, they may be piles of junk, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna track that down. So as soon as I saw it on I called around. Of course, nobody locally has it, which I knew because I'd never seen that bait in person. It's got like the big gill plate area is like a big bulky head. It almost reminds you of creek chub shape, if anything, over any other fish. But then they do come in a few different good colors. So anyway, I ordered a couple of those from Tackle Warehouse, but that gave me the idea. I was like, well, I need to at least get some of those since we're into our little swim bait deal. We're still going. I haven't really messed with going on the soft swim baits yet, other than this fiasco when I ordered these from. And yeah, I need to boil these because that bait that guy had on his boat, way softer than these. These feel like a 10-pounder could pull and tug on it, and it may not tear, but they are not going to have a ton of action. So I'll probably be trying that, and I might take every soft plastic I own and just throw it in a big tub of boiling, like you boil a big old thing of eggs. Like this thing actually feels kind of softer. That's that Berkeley one. And I finally got hooked for this guy. I can fish it because I think that thing will get bit. I cut all the different fins to where just I wanted to look more raggedy, like it's already worn in. I don't think I've caught a fish yet on it. I did rig up a funky hook on it, but I don't think I've actually had a hit on it. So anyway, I've got that was up until today. And so that was all inspired by just seeing the one in person, and the guy had it rigged up on the deck of his boat. And just based off that, I think I'm on the right track too. That for because this was not here. Like I'm talking in, if you guys ever been, if you guys know roughly where Smithville Lake is, and this was way out in like Clay Center, Kansas, which is just north of Manhattan, Kansas, that far over. Uh, very similar in the bottom bouncing stuff that guy was using as what I'm, have found some of the things that have so far this season have been working for me. I thought that was kind of like, oh. Of course, I know the dude ain't a Bass and Bonsai subscriber, so I know he didn't get it from me. Brew Tank, I thought you were dead. Brew Tank, he doesn't even come around until a live stream. It mentioned Fireball, and that dude is live streams or Fireball, and Brew Tank livens up. No, I've been around. I think last time I talked to Brew Tank, I made him spend money. I told him that and they are all completely in stock. The new Calcutta Conquest was in stock. So he's probably been recouping on waiting to pay for that thing. I didn't get one. I'd like, yeah, if you guys haven't noticed, I'm just not in the BFSE mood right at the moment. I still got the stuff. Can do it at any time. I'm kind of in this, like, where's that middle ground to catch the most bass and the biggest bass for my area? So let's get to it. While you guys keep sidetracking me, let's get to this unboxing, and then we're gonna, after the unboxing, stick around if you want to. We're gonna talk about this day box fiasco. I keep this thing almost. I thought it was gonna help me. It almost is like hindered me. I've loaded it down with everything I want to try, and I do not have enough time in a day to try all these different baits. Even when they're not biting, I went through them at the reservoir in a matter of 2 hours. I went through that whole day box and went, I'm gonna throw that thing in the water because it sucks. But it was just an off day, and I blame the grass. So while I was up at Rogers, I needed to replenish these. If you guys, it'll be popping up in a video somewhere. I started kind of using the actual Rage Menace. If you just need a little bit bigger profile than the Baby Rage. The Baby Rage is my favorite for the little ones, the standard 3/8. I like it on there because when you change your speed, it'll let that chatterbait dance around. I haven't found a better one that gets hit and lets it dance. It's just the Baby Rage Menace. You can put it all the way on these little minis, or a smaller one, a regular jackhammer style. You actually have to just get it, like you will see. You basically just get the tip of it to just start on the keeper part. So you're going to have a gap, but no matter what trailer you guys use on the chatterbait, I'm going to give you guys this little tip real quick. You want, and these are horrible. I need to switch them out. If anything, you want the legs to start right where your skirt ends, or just a little bit past that. You don't want the legs going up there too far and the skirt coming down, and it just doesn't look right. Now, if you have to, some of these come with crazy long skirting material, and you can trim that up to make a smaller profile also. There's a lot you can do with a chatterbait right out of the box. You may not want to do it with the $15 jackhammer, but the Jackie Hammer knockoffs, there's a lot of a lot of stuff you can do to make a lot of different looking baits. So while we're there, I'm just going to show you this before I complete my unboxing things. So you can take the knockoffs that come crazy bright green. You can peel that green off. You can kind of tone that down. If you guys remember right, the first big blade in the bluegill color, I toned down. I've ripped almost all of the orange off. And it got better. I liked it better. So this one, while I was out, I was trying something totally different. I left it crazy bright. I even added a 5-inch diesel minnow. I was trying for a bigger thing. That does not work, especially like I mentioned this time, they're chasing after little bitty fish. I would bet dollars to donuts that you'll go out fishing and catch bigger and more fish probably with this than throwing this dude at this exact time. Just with the heat and with what they're doing, what they're chasing, and what they're eating. I'm not saying you couldn't possibly, but right now you're going to want to go small. It ain't go big or go home. You can do it if you're just that person. You want to do it. Like, it's not really. I don't think it's a matter of the color isn't as big a factor right during this time as smaller profiles, more natural colors. But sometimes a little bitty, crazy, bright, flashy thing will be the one that will be the ticket. So let's keep going. And since I do like that color, that green pumpkin, purple and gold flake, just this season has been going very good for me, and it's very close to what that the baby brush hog color. And also, I almost bought another one of those sleeper crawls just because they do have one in a good color. That's one I got hung up and I broke off, so I threw the other one in the water. I got mad, but the color I like, they have 3 or 4 of them up at Rogers. I almost spent another $10, but that is a hanging up mess. So I'll show you what I bought just to try in place of it, because I'd rather spend $5 for 5 or 6 soft plastics that eventually wear out. But if I know I can throw it somewhere, rigged up, whether it be on a wobble head or whatever, and I can work the bait without it sticking to a piece of wood, I will spend more money on baits that fall apart over that sleeper crawl. So anyway, I decided, and I ordered the game hog from Strike King, but they had the bigger one in that color. So you guys comment if you guys have tried these compared to a baby brush hog. I figured I'll do a video because I don't even know. Once the actual smaller one, this is the bigger one, but I did order the small. They didn't have the smaller ones up at Rogers. But so in my favorite color, in close to my favorite bottom bouncing bait at the week, month, season, whatever. So I got that, but then I'm not done. I went ahead and I figured I'd try the Rage Crawl, maybe also. I still kind of like these throwing around stuff, baby brush hog, just like you would any brush along stumps, whatever. But then I wanted to try these just to also more moving, maybe even try them on the big blade as a trailer or something like that in that color, green pumpkin, purple and gold fleck, just to give the Rage Tails a try. Because so far, almost every Rage Tail thing I've used does catch fish. Some of them don't last real long, but let's face it, nothing other than Z-Man soft plastics last. And then just because I was on a kick and I was like, let's try a new color. Let's go completely away from green pumpkin, purple, and gold. And let's go with honey candy, which isn't that far off. So this color, I don't know, just spoke to me. And I'd never tried these worms yet. You guys comment if you've tried these little cut R worms or whatever. So you basically just have instead of a hook tail or curly tail worm, you got a little Rage Tail worm that should, I could rig it Texas style, rig it up on one of these, they'll throw it out and pull it along. That color seems pretty good. I like that color. A lot of times I won't even go by the color of what the body is. I look at the tails on some of these, like how light and what, the appendages, what that color looks like to me in the light or in the water over the body of the bait itself a lot of times. That's why, like when I'm using, especially if you're using it as a trailer, a lot of times this gets covered up. So what color that's looking like, see how light that looks? That's what I think they're going off of. I kind of wish these were a touch lighter, but anyway. So then we're I had a few colors to choose from, but not a lot. So I picked what is still, I guess, we could argue that is still my favorite Swimbait color on like the Key Tech style. So I picked up these huge honking dudes. Rage Swimmers in Electric Shad. 5. You guys see that? You guys comment. I can't tell. Does the video seem the same as it's always been? Or does this phone seem worse, better? Sound, uh, focusing, all that stuff? I can't really tell. So anyway, I picked up these huge honking monsters because that's the biggest they had up there, 5.75. And the 4.75 look just too small. They're like, if you're going to go big, like they may not work right now, but for the size hooks and the other bait I'm going to show you here in a minute. So I picked up these spark shads. And this is the one that is shaped sort of like that bait I saw on the guy's boat. Let's just take one out. They kind of have the appendages that help kind of keep the bait kind of keeled, and they're flat. So the whatever I called that bait, the lunker hunt bait, isn't far from this, but it has a bigger, like, it just has a more defined body and actual like indented scales and stuff like that. In my opinion, I don't know how the tail will work compared to this. It's definitely a thicker tail on the end of it. It just has a touch more realistic look when you're glancing at it than what this bait does. But I've heard good things about these, so I wanted to try this size, the 5-inch. So when you put it beside this bait, it looks like they're the same. Like the 5-inch and the 5.75 are way closer than a 4.75 is to this 5-inch. And what's funny is the I forget the name of the other, not the mag drafts, the smaller little Megabass soft plastic little swim bait, but they have those there in like a 4.25 or something, and it looks like half the size. Like it's a whole different thing. So sometimes you got to watch if you're not in person and you're going by links to look up and try to order something. Kind of like we got with these. I wasn't, I guess, paying enough attention to what those were. I knew they were smaller, but I didn't realize they were that much smaller than a 6-inch mag draft. So compared to this 5-inch spark shed, they're like they're not even really a 4-inch bait, and they're like hard as a rock. I don't know if you guys can see just how much more movement you have in this dude right here. And this reminds me of what that the Fetch, that's the name of it, the Fetch from Lunker Hunt, how it felt, so hopefully it lasts through several fish. Now these were only but you got 5 of them for $10. So these are actually cheaper than the Lunker Hunts. The Lunker Hunts you get 3 for $7.99. So $2 less, but 2 less bait. So these are cheaper. So I'll be curious to see, first of all, if they get hit, how long they last, and that kind of stuff. And then I hooked myself. As opposed to these Rage Swimmers. So I think that it's probably a toss up between these and the Guggen bait ones as far as my favorite of this style. And then Big A is supposed to be, he's working on some stuff. So I don't know what he's going to send. The site probably not this big, but I still don't technically, I guess, have a favorite soft plastic swim bait of any kind. Like I like the little guys, just like this one right here, the Meredith ones, but you can only order, like they sell one is 120 millimeters or something, but like the price of it, you're better off. Like these are cheaper than the one Meredith. Like these are like $3.50 for 8 or 10 or whatever. So they're about the cheapest little 2.5, 3-inch, because these they come in a couple different. The two sizes I like are their smallest size, which is this one, and then no, wait, not their smallest size. They're next to the largest they sell, and then the largest. So you basically have a 3-inch and then one that's just under 3-inch. And you can tell they're totally different size bait. But the biggest one I like on the back of almost every spinnerbait or chatterbait that I have, the smaller ones anyway, 3/8 ounce or something smaller. And then for any of the real little micros and mini chatterbaits, I like that even one size smaller. They'd even make them even smaller than that. But these are awesome little baits, a couple little colors I like. So we've got these added. Now, I needed something to throw them with. So I did splurge a little bit. I just bought, and I bought these because going off of the guy that kind of made the fetch that I'm looking forward to throwing, he says a 6/0 is what he recommended for those. And then 6/0 looks like it should work for these. These are actually, this is a 5" and I think those are 4.5, but I would call this because of the tail's kind of elongated. I think the other one's tail's a little bit shorter, but it's almost the same size, that fetch, as what these spark shads. If my memory serves, I should have took a pic, but I didn't want to get too intrusive on the dude's boat. Anyway, so we got the flashy swimmer, and I wanted the gold Colorado blade just because they do make them different ways. I wanted to feel a little more thump, and I felt because of this color that the gold may just go better. But then I also got these I may try in case, because I hate on these style of underspins, right? The fact that these pull out of the smaller baits. So they did have these up at Rogers at larger size. I'll see if it's not too big, but I'll try one with it, one with the regular way, and just see if, which one lasts longer, if one can, be glued in or whatever. So I got those to play with. But then, just because you know me, I always go the cheap route too, and I end up spending more money that way. I got basically the Rogers House brand on just regular, with the belly weight, but no. So what are these? But no blade on it. So these are 5/0 1/4 ounce, but they looked huge. I'm going to compare the sizes. I didn't bother to take them out of the package, and these are 6/0 3/8 ounce. So let's just compare that, because I didn't, I guess I technically could have, but I didn't want to unpackage their stuff and then repackage it. But I think this 6/0 will be for sure the one. I was hoping to get a lighter weight because these, weigh something, there's a little weight there. So the 3/8 ounce. So I'm not going to rig it up yet, but I just wanted to see. So yeah, that should be. These don't have as much of a cut, and I may make the cut myself just to where when something hits it, it'll let that move more. And so I'm thinking it should be also for that. Should be good. That should be enough. A lot of times you don't need. I mean, you just need some movement, and I'll probably rig these up. Does that thing already come with 3 different spots where to skin hook it or something? Let's take the other one. I'm curious if the 5/0 will work, is ones I was curious about. Because I could have swore they just looked way bigger. I think what these are is more like a beast style. So if you guys are familiar with the owner beast hooks, like a 6/0 beast hook compared to a regular 6/0 is different. So these are 5/0. This is a 6/0. First of all, I wanted to compare these. Now these have the little centering thing. The ones from Rogers don't. It looks like you got a little more stuff to screw in with the Rogers ones, as long as it screws in. And then, yeah, the hook gappage is crazy. See the difference? So this is more, a little bit thicker gauge. Still sharp. Oh, you know what? Honestly, the owner one, I feel a burr. I don't know if you guys can see, my fingernail sticks on the owner one. That's the owner, more expensive one. The Rogers one's smooth and very sharp. Now, it may not stay long, That other one clearly has a touch of a burr. I mean, it's still sharp, but yeah. Where's the other one? So I knew that's what I was seeing. Yeah, that one's fine. So even when you get them out of the package, you just run your finger. Don't go this way hard. You can do this. Just skin hook. Like if you can run your finger, it should just stick you. Like there should be no way you can make it down your finger as soon as you start turning this way without it sticking into your skin. Very, very lightly. Don't pull hard. You'll be going to the emergency room. But you can go that way, and then you can do it with your finger. If you feel something, then do it with your fingernail. If your fingernail stops, that's a burr, and that needs to be. It can be fixed real simply. I need to get a good sharpener. I just carry this little thing here. And voila, fixed it just like that. Would it have mattered? That may have been a burr manufactured that would have worn right off the minute you started, got caught in a tree or something. But some of these hooks, the quality are the ones that you can stick into whatever, the fish's mouth, the tree, and they just always tend to stay sharp. Some of the higher dollar ones just tend to do that. So let's pull. Those are clearly like a B style. So that was a good call on my part there to just get the 5. So I got the 5/0, but in a lighter. So when I already lost that thing off that. So anyway, yeah, that's good. That was good. Now let's open the underspins. Now these are considered 6/0, 3/8 ounce, definitely heavier. Let's get those out without hooking ourselves. So there's one of those. You can, well, they actually do have the centering deal. You can tell the difference between them and honestly, they, if anything, have a smaller, they're not far. They have I would call them a touch on the smaller size gap wise, if you guys can see that. So I'd call them a touch lighter wire, and well, no, the overall gape is very, very close. I'd call them, if anything, they're a little shorter here. I forget what they call that. That is definitely shorter, and the wire itself. So if you were worried about, is my rod powerful enough kind of deal, then these honestly from Rogers would probably be the better of the two, because a definitely lighter rod could set the hook in that. But then the problem you would come at is if there's enough room there, but I think there is here. And then like anything else, if you rig up whatever soft plastic and that's the only hook you got and that's the only swim bait you got, and you just like you get a bite and you're like, oh, I can't hook them. You can always, from back here, just tip that tip up just a hair will help with a fish when it's in their mouth. Just like I'm running my finger down. If a hook is either too flat or actually kinked in just ever so slightly, a lot of times it can manage to barely, slide up inside the fish's mouth and maybe catch just a little on the edge, and then they jump and spit it right back out at you. So there's little tricks you can do there. But I think this guy, for me, because I plan on using two rods, either the Tequila Baccarat, preferably, or the Super Destroyer should also fit the bill for sure with this one. The other bait has definite cuts in it. That one from Lunker Hunt has a big, like I think it's a little flatter overall bait than what these are. So I may want to run those kind of hooks on it, and then stick with and I'm gonna have these rigged both. I plan on having it rigged up both ways. I'll rig one up without an underspin, one with, we'll have the gold blade, one will just have the silver willow blade. That way, and then possibly the same exact setup on these. And might as well, we're opening everything else. Now these come in a blister pack that you could actually reuse if you wanted to throw it in your box somewhere, which is cool about those. The Megabass ones, I mean, technically you can because they're flat and you could just leave them in that package, but that's really like it's going to deteriorate. Not really the same kind of intent on having you in a blister type pack that you can reuse. I just wish they would even condense them more to where it, maybe just stack them differently or something to where you could, because these take up a lot of room, the ones I've had and the smaller ones. So let's see. Let's pull one of these out and compare it. Yeah, these don't really. It's the Guggen ones that smell like high heaven a lot of times. So let's put them out like that. So hopefully you can see 5-inch spark shad, 5 and 5.75 or 5 3/4 of an inch. Uh, Strike King. They're really like it is so close. Like it's not. Doesn't even look like a 1/4 of an inch difference. About is all what it looks like to me. And the profile, what you're seeing, what the presence they'll have in the water should be close to the same. This one does have a little bit bigger. Should have more. It's a ragetail, right? It should have more rage in it than this one does. And the thing I've been thinking about trying, I probably need to not worry about it, but I would think you could honestly cut even maybe a chunk of clear plastic if you wanted to try to get more thump and glue it to one of these, say cut it to the size of this one. If you wanted to try to get more thump out of your tail, same as you could just ever so slightly trim one of these up a little if you wanted to take a little bit out just to fine tune some of these bigger baits, if you're looking for something like less thump, more thump, that kind of deal. So yeah, we got all that undone. I'm trying to read that. Galactic Boot says Daybach looks exactly the same. Yeah. Spunk shad, those are the ones. The spunk shads are like crazy smaller though. Like the 4 point whatever is like a little bit big dinky bait. It's like not what you would think compared to that dude. No, they're not hitting these, Jay. I just got these. They're not hitting anything yet. I got on a kick. I saw that one in that guy's boat. I don't even know what I did with Jay's baits. I was gonna try to. Where did those go? I don't even know what I did with half the stuff. I moved stuff around. Hang on, don't go anywhere. I'm going somewhere. What did I do with those baits? I don't know. They're somewhere. Hang on. What in the heck? Well, I don't know. I got them somewhere. But yeah, the baits Jay's talking about, I got them somewhere. I don't know what I did with them. But the Easy Swimmer, Gambler Easy Swimmers, the Skinny Dippers, and those, they do have a little bit different tail. But yeah, any of those, if like you could also replace with these, I just wanted to try this style along with. I'm really looking forward to seeing if I'm going to like the Fetch because it to me just looks more. First of all, just the profile, the realistic look of it. It may not look like the exact bait fish that are in your waters, but it looks more like a fish just sitting there looking at it than any of these other swim baits. Now, how will it swim or what will it do? That, those of you guys maybe ever tried it, because I'll be honest, this bait right here, I had a green one. I can't remember what happened. I bought a rod. I think it was when I bought the Big Sexy. I bought it used from some kid, and he had this uh, rigged on an underspin that came with. I bought a rod and reel combo from the kid, and it had. I think it must have been right about this size because I was calling it a 5 or 6 inch bait. But anyway, I've never really bought and tried to fish this big of a soft plastic swim bait in this style. So as you can see, this little dude right here, those are all right around that same. Now I know it's going to get bit. I already have confidence these will catch fish, because I've already caught fish on stuff that is really now right at this moment, just like I talked about this one, I don't think you're gonna have it. So this by itself on a diesel minnow is going to have a smaller look, even though that's considered a 5-inch. It's not really, like, I don't even know how these guys always do the measurements, but that's the 5-inch diesel minnow, and it is not as long as a 5-inch spark shad. And I don't even know what this dude is, but so it's shorter. But anytime you put something like one of these on a bigger type jig head, if you've got a bigger head, or on a, you can upsize all the way to a bigger swim jig or whatever, then you've even made a bigger profile if that's what you're going for. But then you could put just this same kind of deal on one of these, and then different look, went smaller and stuff like that. But I just don't know if I like the way these diesel minnows swim by themselves. I think they're good. The littler ones aren't bad on the back. I think they're actually better on the back of a spinnerbait than they are a chatterbait or yeah. So I don't know. You guys comment if you've had a ton of luck with them. I think they're okay. They definitely deteriorate faster than I like. Like, I feel you gotta, as soon as you're done fishing this, you need to pull it off, put it back in a blister pack, put it out of the sun, out of the heat, and hope that it holds its shape. And it's like a lot of these baits, you can throw that dude around, even though it comes in a blister pack. I'm pretty sure it's the Strike Kings. You can throw that sucker here and there, whatever, and it tends to just keep flicking and flopping and working until you finally, wear it out from using it, kind of thing. The Z-Man, a lot of these with the boot tails type stuff, they get twisted and jacked up pretty quick in the heat. So I'm not liking that about them. So anyway, you guys comment whatever you think about what we got going on here. Like right now, here's what's out there biting. So we're getting ready though, right? At some point in time, this summer's going to be over and they're going to start feeding up again, and we're going to be ready with our swim bait game. We're kind of fine tuning it, because if we get out there now and track down some of these baits that are getting a bigger bite and catching some fish, they may be game over, lights out once a bite kicks on. And I'm not even sure if I like this color. That's another thing. Once I started checking around a bunch of different baits, the colors are sometimes very, like, I noticed a lot. Now this is IU. A lot of companies, Tennessee shad is totally different across the board, and then a lot of theirs electric shad could be sort of different between companies and different ones. But like that, I like this color, whether it be in the real big ones or little ones. But then on for sure the littler baits, because I think it's imitating little crappie fry, I like that little dude. And then, hang on, where's the other one? I've got a bunch of these. So here's, basically I got a smaller, I'll show you what I did here. So I lost my bluegill swim jig, so I rigged up two different ones. I've got a dark head and the light head. Same kind of deal though, both rigged up, if you look. Not a bluegill color, but electric shad color. Now these, I believe, are the Googans, but they do kind of hold close to the same color as the Strike Kings. But I'm pretty sure the Googans, if you look at the ribs, they're straight on a Strike King, and the Googans slant down. So I do like the Googan baits. They didn't have any this size in the Googan baits. But I've had pretty good luck with these also lasting pretty good on the Googan swim baits. I'm curious if I ever get out and actually on to try those dudes out too. I think I've got two. That just, when I look at it, I'm like, there's too much. It's a little too bright, and there's just too much material. That some of these brighter ones need pulled out. It needs thinned out a little bit, maybe trimmed up a little bit to let that. Or I just need to leave it similar and then go with a bigger size boot. Probably not that big, but you could go with the, I'd say up to, I think that's 3-inch, maybe 3.3. You could probably get by with a 4.2 or something on these. Like this one, you could rig it up to where you might be able to get the fish hooked if he engulfed it, but that hook is a little too small for that 575. But anyway, it's just one of those things, put a head, match it up to what size. But there is my other favorite color from Meredith. And that's just that kind of, which if you look, I wish this had some gold, and I actually wish it had a touch of purple fleck in it, but I wish it had a little bit of gold fleck. But next best thing may be rigging it up on one of these underspins with a gold blade that I maybe can feel that thumping a little bit. So that's the plan, right? So yeah, I've always got some sort of method to my madness somewhat. So yeah, what I can do is I'll pull out. I'm curious to just that dude. I think I can figure out how to catch a fish on that dude. I just do. I think I do. I think it reminds me of those trash fish that they keep talking about. It's their bigger version of this little dude, but that dude should be able to just be pulled around and catch a fish. I know this will 100%. It's just bigger version of these that Charles been tearing them up on the smaller size, but he's been going through baits. I know, buy bigger and whatever. And I'm hoping for a bigger bite, weed out some of the dinks, but then jump on a big one here. And then in preparation to get ready for that fetch that should be here on Monday, I just wanted to try. I've been debating on trying these in the smaller ones. If you guys don't know about the Spark Shad, they make them all the way down, I think, to a 2.5 inch, which is about as small as this dude. Megabass makes most of their little soft plastic swim baits come in a very little, which maybe even smaller than this guy. And then I'm not sure how big they make this in the Spark Shads, but I think this for around here. I don't think you want to go much bigger, if any bigger than this. So I'm going to talk about that as I wrap up this video. We're already an hour in. So that's kind of why once I saw that one sitting on the deck of that guy's boat, I'm like, that's the perfect size anyway, really. Like that should weed out, it may not even weed out some of the smallest dinks, but it should entice a bigger bite, right? This size fish, even this size. Yeah, if you guys have watched me fish that on, I think I fished it by itself on a chatterbait head. I caught a very small 8 or what do you mean, a 10-inch bass on that dude. So it still may get some dinks. But that size roughly should just get, entice a little bit bigger bite because it does look, it's still bigger than a little swim jig kind of thing. But yet, still catch them. Just like this dude. So I still say not this color because these colors kind of suck. Even the one I painted the tail black and chopped him up. So these get bit like on a regular basis. Those are the cheapest way to go in those hard baits. But you're talking about the same size. See that? You're roughly, these may put out a little bit bigger presence than these, but you're right there within that wheelhouse area zone, right? So now they make these even bigger. And if I start doing good, if I figure out something to where I feel these or there's something there to them and the way I'm fishing them or like to fish them or whatever, I may go bigger. I may get the Baca burritos or something in a 6-inch. I may go like that they're going to be bigger, bulkier, should even create maybe a touch bigger class. But I think for our area, if you're in the Midwest, I don't know if you're going to need to go any bigger than what we're talking about right here. And that's why on some of these swim baits, let me just switch gears to the hard swim baits. I didn't even make it to my day box, but I'll have to get to it later. So just because I don't have time to mess with all these swim baits I've been ordering, though, like this dude, and also I didn't even talk about it yet, but I got an order coming from Tackle Warehouse. You guys mentioned that. So I've almost decided that I'm going to keep a couple and throw them But the biggest baits you're probably going to see me throw is definitely going to be this dude, which is like roughly the Clash 9 size style. But I like that color. I don't know if you guys even seen the footage yet. I have caught a fish, wasn't a giant. The white one, you guys seen that video, that same size. But then this dude, I think I'm going to go ahead and sell this dude. This guy, I've caught some fish. What's funny is they were the smallest fish of the fish I caught that day. It's not that it's too hard to throw. I think it just, I don't think it's where I need to be in that wheelhouse of numbers and potential to be the biggest fish like in the water. I think it'll catch little, big, like I think it'll catch everything. It creates a crazy presence, but I think they really have to be on an even more aggressive feed. So in my opinion, like this huge Whopper Plopper 190, even though I like that color, I've got a 110 coming in this color and a the smallest, the 60. Now I'll probably just stay right there since I already have the Chapo and the other two Whopper Ploppers in a 130, but I may order this in a 130. But I think this dude, uh, I just feel that day I was throwing it, I could have caught more fish if I'd had even a 130 or a 110 in that color. And if I would have got it over the top of a, say, 6 to 8 pounder, I think they would have hit the 110 or the 130 just as well as they will hit this. I don't think, that's just my opinion. Somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, you're doing it wrong" or something. But so I think I'm gonna weed that out of my tackle box also. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put, it's got these big honking hooks that came with it. I'm gonna put them back on it. These hooks that are on it came off this dude right here, but he's also getting weeded out. So the jokers, they just the wake they make. I just think they're, for where I'm at, I think they're too much. And then same thing with this one. Even though it's the same size as the bass colored one, I am keeping a couple of these because I have caught fish on them. So basically, instead of doing these big dudes and the big whopper plopper, I'm kind of using the big guy as a wake. It's more subtle than a whopper plopper. But in my opinion, it's a bigger presence, but it's a subtle presence. And then I've got the 130 whopper ploppers or even the 110 whopper plopper. And then I'm going to have a couple even in the smaller size, the 185 millimeter. So those kind of dudes are going bye-bye. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to, I guess I haven't really talked about it. I've mentioned it a couple times. If you kind of want to feel for what it's like to throw swim baits and be in the swim bait game without even, you could even do it with BFS stuff with the littler rod and reel combo, but throw these little bitty dudes if I can get this dude unhooked. Well, I can't get this bait unhooked. I blame my baits. That's why my videos are so long. Well, he got hooked in there. We're bringing the whole bait in. So there's the whole bait. He's going bye-bye too. But these little guys, you can actually throw this on BFS gear. You can take this little rat, little wake bait. You can throw that on. That is a crazy light. That is not a heavy bait. So if you kind of like, oh, I'm interested in, what's it like? How do they work? How they honestly work the same way. The only difference, even this little dude, which that is probably the worst swim bait that I've picked up. One of the cutest looking ones. It'll probably catch a fish. I don't have the time to sit and play with all these different ones. But you can get that smallest 135 millimeter, like DRT knockoff. Throw it on, like the Teton, that rod I just showed you, the Abu Garcia one I made. Almost all your light, medium light rods will throw all of these littler, cheaper baits. Like that rat was pretty cheap off AliExpress, real cheap, and it's kind of the same thing. If you're throwing these on BFS gear, when you get hit, you put the power to them in order to, even though those aren't huge hooks for a BFS setup, they're still, stout enough that you're going to want to yank and go through the whole process. So basically what you could do You go in a little creek or stream, you got your normal size BFS baits, but then you could take these along just to, you know, they're honestly not that big of a regular bass bait, but in the BFS world, they're as big as what these swim baits are in the regular bass world, kind of thing. So that would be kind of fun. And I thought about I may end up doing that, just throwing some of these. I think I'm the rat for sure. I'm gonna throw him with my BFS stuff, and I think I got a couple of these that size. I'll probably just go ahead and throw those in there too in this configuration because that's one I like. So just kind of a topwater wakey type deal, and possibly even that Whopper Plopper 60 will go in there with our other AliExpress Whopper. I cannot get that off for the life of me. Jesus. I'll get that later. So those baits are pretty much, there's several that are going to be out. So I haven't even done it yet. I'm going to order this one in the 185 size, and let me grab that one. Let me move these baits, and I'll talk about that. And then I'm ending this video because I got to go to sleep at some point. Now, I haven't decided on several of these. Dear Lord. But a few of these are going to stay for sure just because they're cool. And honestly, this little dude right here, you could probably uh, turn into a BFS type bait. I think it's heavier than a rat, but I haven't even thrown these yet. I've got two of them, and I've yet to throw them. This little dude looks cool as heck. Haven't caught a fish yet, but he kind of has a little waddle. I call him the waddler. He just kind of waddles around, and he's like his tail is doing this crazy. It, like, reminds you of somebody that like, or when you have you ever dreamed that you're like running but you're not going anywhere? So it looks like he's moving faster uh, than he's actually going. But then when you kill it, it has this perfect like stop and turn. So I haven't got hit yet, but I'm pretty sure at some point that little dude will start nailing some fish. I think it's just at the time right now. Like I mentioned, the size of what they're feeding on. But I do like that dude. That dude staying for now for sure. Still up in there. Haven't figured out whether I like these or not. Be honest, they're probably going to end up also being weeded out. Like I mentioned, I'm not a swim bait person. I'm not a collector of any of this stuff. So once I'm like, it's not really for me, it's probably going to go bye-bye. So where I'm probably going to live is this dude right here. This size. That's that 185 millimeter. I think it's actually in between. I think it's smaller than the Clash 9, but it's bigger than the tiny Clash, which is like this. So you got 210 or whatever it is. You got 185, then the 165, then 135, that littlest dude. This one, I think, just like I was talking about these soft bite, I think this is a plenty big enough bait to be working and get in this area in the Midwest that's going to catch you a big fish. I'm not saying this one won't either, but this one is kind of less menacing. It should definitely get more bites, more fish. But I think if you're swimming either one of these, I mean, honestly, around here, you're talking. My personal best isn't quite 8 pounds. I've seen people catch some eights. I've seen people claim to have tens, but uh, they don't have a scale at the, you know what I mean, kind of deal. So in all honesty, like when I go out, like when I say I plan on or try to catch a giant, it's anywhere from 5 to just under 7 pounds. Like 6.5 seems to be what's kind of common for me this year anyway, and I've caught quite a few. But I think that fish would not really matter if he sees either one of these. That one being a little bigger wouldn't make him decide, oh, I'm going to eat that one and not eat that. I think colors could have the place. So I'm going to order another one in this color, that a couple different white colors, and then I do like this color, that kind of a coppery belly. This one caught in the last one of the last videos. That video has over 500 views now. That sucker worked pretty good and caught us a fish. What else? So I was tempted to, I'm still going to do some experimenting with some of these. I do like the way these work, and I'm going to keep those other ones that are the bass colored ones. Like all these that are bass colored, I'm keeping around just to test a little bit further. But I think like that size, and I may end up going with a, whether it be like the mag draft. I almost bought another mag draft, but if I do anything, I may buy a mag draft freestyle or even 8-inch mag draft just to try. Because these I want to be able to get basically down low without worrying about them getting caught or hung up, whether it be in grass or just whatever. In that mag draft, I feel like it with the treble on the bottom, I don't like that style as well. So yeah, this dude, is he got a hollow? No, I think he's solid. He didn't have a hollow belly in there. So definitely this is a bigger menacing thing, profile than these little dudes. But I'm going to try these out because I feel if they're hitting and you're kind of louder, overall, but then if you can still have a bigger presence but be a little more subtle, going a little deeper, down lower, whether you have a underspin on or not, just kind of figuring out where I can go out fishing and fit these swim baits into the rest of my baits on any normal day of fishing. And even if I need to end up going down to something like this, or even to almost BFS gear with crazy lightweight little chatterbaits or the little, uh, you know, TRDs and all that kind of stuff, right? Just basically fitting in swim baits into the regular fishing game, not just going all out for, hunt for big fish, swim baiting or whatever. If I were, I would keep these biggest ones. I probably wouldn't have even ordered the little ones, and then I would be getting like those big, huge TRDs, the big jumbo magnum worms, and I would basically go the opposite way. Like if I go out and these aren't hitting, or these aren't hitting, or this isn't hitting, I stay big, but I go slower, like to, then lower in the water column down to, maybe like whether it be dragging a Huddleston or those huge magnum worms. Those huge big TRDs, you guys know what I'm talking about. They're like 6 or 8 inches, but they're crazy fat, big around, running one of those on a kind of deal. If I was truly just only out looking for big fish, I want to catch a big fish, but I want to find the bite, like what's the biggest bite going or the best bite going, and then go from there. Like if it's just dinks, then try to figure out what to change up to get the next bigger bite going. So anyway, that's it. I got to go. Wow, we are way in over our heads with this time. So stay tuned this weekend. I'm glad I got these going. Oh, I'll talk about that. I can always think of 50 million more things to talk about at the end of one of these live streams. So I'm going fishing Saturday. Me and Olivia should be going because Charles, he's got to Uber the Amish. Matt's got to take kids to World of Fun, I think. So Saturday, uh, it's just me, myself, and Olivia, not Irene. So we're not even sure where we're going to go yet. Well, she's not sure. I'm almost positive we're going to go for Redemption. That the video that is going to drop tomorrow. You'll watch that video, and did not get topwater hit. We did find them on chatterbaits. Like I mentioned, she caught 1 or 2. Then I switched to a few different chatterbaits. We caught, I don't even know how many. We called it short, and then we went to another place that was low. The water was low. We still caught some there, but the last 3 trips were not good. I considered them fails. We caught fish, and enough. I put the videos out. You'll watch them, and the other one will be coming up hopefully before the weekend. Then I got Father's Day. I went fishing on Father's Day, and it was Redemption Day, and it'll be Pogue Part 5. I went back down to Pogue. When all else fails, go 50 million miles away from civilization to where nobody's fishing as much, and there's still some fish. I'm anxious to try these out and just see how well. I'm not going to run it all the way in, but that should hold. I just don't know. Once it does rip out, like, it's probably toast. Then to where I may start with those, and then as I rip them, if they rip or whatever, I haven't decided yet. Then I could always just transfer it out to one of these and then put that. But I'd probably better off to just start right off the bat. Once I rig it up, just to put one of those in there. You guys comment also if you've ever used these. I got this idea from Tactical Bassin. I heard him talk about this 3-5 years ago. I don't know how long ago. I was like, I got an idea. You know how you don't rip those out? You just don't fish underspins. You put them on a jig head. Problem solved, right? Put them on some sort of head. Like I've always talked about. Oh, there's a little dude. Now that's kind of like, that's a Meredith bait, but it's kind of shaped like those little easy swimmers, easy shiners, whatever. Here is a bait that has been a huge letdown. I just talked about how, and I like chowder baits, and I just talked about how there's a small little bite going on, and I've tried this bait a couple times. That is not that big of a bait. It honestly, it kind of does look a little bigger, but it is probably even a touch shorter than this guy gets hit. This guy does not get anything. I would have thought that dude would have caught fish. But yeah, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I think it's just like a chatterbait. Throw it out, different paces, a stop go kind of thing. That bait just does not. It does let me down. I should just leave it out of the box. But I probably will give it another shot. This one, that's the whatever. It's not the Shad. Oh, the one where you can change out the deals. I got that to try out. So far, that my swim jig game, unless I don't do the Alabama shake, is the only way I can get them to hit these swim jigs. I can throw that out there and just reel it back. It's just dead. Even with this on it, like thinking that would give it more. But yeah. So it takes. So basically, I'm thinking you're better off just a smaller chatterbait. Put a bigger swim bait on a smaller chatterbait blade to where that little, that's going to be doing Alabama shake for you. That's what a little bitty chatterbait blade will be doing. It'll be so it's got it shaking, little vibration going on, and so you go big with a little bitty blade kind of deal. And some of these because if you go the Z-Man Originals, I believe they make a 1/4 ounce with a normal sized blade, or maybe it's a little smaller, but a huge hook. So you could kind of do that kind of deal, but you can all, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, so far swim jigs aren't, unless I'm doing Alabama shake, I don't get bit as well. And I've tried several different configurations, underspins. The only way I feel they work is either I'm shaking the crap out of them while I'm reeling back, or I'm just bouncing them off bottom almost like you would a regular jig. Throwing them out and just swimming them back, I feel they do not. You'd be better off to just get a jig head and swim a swim bait, in my opinion. So far from what I've found, or just throw a spinner bait with one of those little deals on it. Those little SV3 knockoffs they're like money. Because the bite I got on Father's Day was, and that's the last thing I swear I'm talking about, and then I'm out. I got on a bite, and it was a little bitty chatterbait, but then it was also the, where is he? And I cannot, that Christie, Jason Christie, when I bought it, that thing don't seem to be that good. And I really didn't have any luck on either one of these. But look at those blades, those Indiana kind of bigger blades. But neither one of those seemed to do anything on that day. What I can find one, I know I got one right here somewhere. Had one. You guys know the one I'm talking about. Where's one? Are you kidding me? I'm going through this box. Anyway, the SV3 has those little willow blades. And that is, I think, what they were hitting. Because I even caught some on the so like when they were coming up, I think what the fish were doing, and they weren't horribly small. I mean, some of them were dinks, but some of them were pretty good. I think they're coming up and just hitting the blades because I was catching a lot of them in the bottom. I caught myself. That stuck. So basically, the fish was coming up, hitting the blades, and I was catching them, a lot of them like that in the bottom. You know, a couple here and there, some of them different. Some of them had in the mouth. They were actually like they'd come up, seeing the little bitty thing, and then once they realized what is there, then they grab that. But a few of them were hitting that. So I think those little bitty blades on that SV3 knockoff or the Megabass SV3, or if you have any little bitty spinner baits, now's the time to be throwing those. You got helps with chop on the water, but even just try your little bitty blades, even if you don't have chop on the water. Because even like this little dude, that's not a very big blade. These ones from Charles, that's why one of the reasons I think that's a good color. Plus the fact that them blades aren't that big. That dude was getting hit that day, and I couldn't keep it together, so I stopped throwing them. And since then, I've glued the skirt on, hand tied and glued, like so. It's there now. So unless I throw these off, which I made sure those are on, that these little baits should last quite a while, like just over $1, almost $2, whatever. Walmart, very cheap spinner baits that almost every fish you got to kind of reshape them, whatever, but it just gets bit. That bait in that color, the only downside to these, I guess because that's a thicker blade, that SV3 knockoffs are thin, and you can feel the thump. Like you can feel the blade spinning. This one is a harder one to feel it working, but it's working. When you throw it out and start reeling, that blade starts right up. It is working. Then you'll feel the fish when he hits it. So anyway, guys, get out of here. Go Bass and Bonsai. You got any questions? Put them down below. What up, Gus? We are gone. Yeah, the spark shads, wait till you guys, if you haven't seen the I keep forgetting the name of that bait, the lunker hunt bait that I'm talking about. The fetch. It's like fetch, right? You throw it out, fetch, it fetches you fish. That bait looks good. I don't know how to work. I've heard these are awesome baits. From the littlest spark shads to the big ones, I've heard these are very good. Like a lot of guys are finessing a very little ball head, like a 16th, 1/8 ounce little head with that little spark shads on their little 2.5, 2 and 3, whatever their smallest one is, and very finessey way to catch them, but you can also catch them like this. So anyway, that bait's going to be worn out before it ever hits the water. Get out, go Bass and Bonsai. Stay tuned. Be watching the videos of Father's Day redemption. Kind of made up for the one bad day. The one bad day I was by myself, and that is only 3 hours, but that was bad. You probably saw it in the video. It just dropped today. The expression on my face and the way I was talking, I was just defeated. I'm like, God, this sucks. 2 hours of just casting and nothing. But then at least I was with Olivia on the other two so we were, talking about this and that and catching some fish, and I was just telling her like we should have went to Pogue. So that's probably where we'll go. But we may go right back to the place for redemption on Topwater Bite, because I think the wind picks up. Like I think it's supposed to be windy come Saturday, and there might be a storm rolling through around 10 or 11. Might be able to get on another big fish or two from that place. I'd honestly like to see or not see if she can, but I would like to get her on a big fish, because she's caught close to 5, and then that one was almost 5 again. But she's caught 2 big bass, but they were a few years apart. So she's kind of got the feel. She definitely likes the idea, and it's one of those things, every cast could be a big one, right? But I'd like to see her hook into one of those real giants. Once they get those, that one I just caught, 6 pounds, 6 pound, 11 ounces, when they get close to pushing 7, you're on like a whole nother breed of pull. Now, speed, honestly, I think somewhere around a 2 to 4 pounder around here anyway, they can go shooting different directions and like jumping even more, so like they can be a handful compared to the 5 to 7, 8 pounder kind of deal. But man, when you get in them big ones, the pull they have on that rod is just, yeah, it's there. All right, guys, see you later. Gotta go.